Good afternoon and a huge warm welcome to Carnation Crafts. We are live in the Carnation Craft studios and as always it's lovely to have your company. So the final show of today looks at Work and Play, which is a collection launched a couple of years ago. You'll find it on the Carnation website 200702. Amazing price today of $89.99. It should be $118.93, so you're getting a good discount, and it's got free UK P&P, which is always nice. Thank you very much. You can use the QR code at the bottom of the screen, and that will take you directly to the product on the Carnation Crafts website. Sometimes that's a bit quicker and a bit easier, but it's a masculine collection today we come in with. So it's looking at card making that we often don't get the chance to make. So it's a really important collection. We do have some perfect papers to go with it as well. So you have got stuff to work with. That's 200710, show price of $14.99. $2.95 UK P&P. I'll go back through those as well so you can go through everything. Really nice masculine colours on your perfect papers, and also really nice for some of your Christmas cards, because we're looking at those gorgeous navy blue colours, those darker colours bringing in. Sometimes they're really beautiful, aren't they, when we do the kind of Christmas starry night, so you couldn't be receiving these at a better time. Grab hold of them. As far as the collection's concerned, Taz, or can they use their newsletter code?
It's more than 3 months old.
More than 3 months old. Use your newsletter code to get yourself an extra 10% discount. Always nice to have. Thank you very much. Always is a bonus when we get to use those elements. So 200702. What is Work and Play? Well, it sort of brings in the idea of being able to use, there's a garden shed is a good way of looking at it, but there's also a pub. There are different elements that are masculine, but they can be used obviously for feminine cards as well, but they do align with the idea of sending cards for dad, sending cards for brothers, uncles, that kind of thing, son. So it's got all the really nice elements that we just don't get enough of in the craft industry. And that's because obviously the majority of cards as a rule tend to get made for feminine recipients, and they're made by feminine as a rule, not completely across the board, so consequently sometimes we miss out. Carnation came in and brought this collection and it is absolutely brilliant. It's clever, it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, it's all the good stuff that we want to send to those masculine people in our lives. So we're going to have a look at the boards, go through it, and then we're going to show you loads and loads of finished samples, and hopefully we'll have time for 3 demos. But we're going to have a look at what you get in this incredible collection. And it starts out with this, which is super clever. Now, Carnation always give you a card base, right? So you've got the card base here, and it's got the 2 little doors in it. So you can see the sort of glass panel door, so you can use your acetates on that to pull in behind it. You can put vellum in it. There's all sorts that you can do to change that up. And you get the choice to use obviously 2 of those. Remember, we've got mirrored vignettes, or you can use 2 of the shed doors. So it depends what you're making. If you're making that pub scene, you might want to use the glass doors. If you're making those shed scenes, or if you're doing the descriptive as such on your card as somebody working, you might want to use the shed doors. There's all different ways of playing. Plus you get this really lovely border, and this means we can hide workings. We can also create the frame for our card. Really pretty, but also really masculine. So we get to make all of the elements. Look at the cut line detail in the shed door. That's extraordinary. That's what gives it the realistic look that we see here, where all of those lines are going through. It's the attention to detail. Was there any need to do that? Well, yes, because it's Carnation, but effectively they could have just done a wood panel door. But all of the detail goes in. What do they say? The devil is in the detail. So moving on from your on the threshold card shape, we have then got your countertop card shape. And this is really, again, really clever because it's got multi-uses. So where you're seeing the actual counter here, the tabletop, you've got a sink. So if you know a plumber in your life, this will obviously sit either below, and it can be used as the sort of bowl of the sink coming through and the line going through, so that the dad, the male on the card maybe, would be working on that element. We've got tools, and you'll see those in a minute. We've got that, I want to use all the technical terms and I don't know them, but the clamp for on top if they're working in a shed, for instance. Then we've got the tap, which would go with the sink. And then we've also got your beer pump in case you're making a pub. And this is all of those things, isn't it? This countertop allows, and it's sized obviously perfectly for all of these things. So no matter which way we're doing it, no matter which masculine we're making for, we will be able to find something within here that's representative to them. Really great, isn't it, to have those options. Then we've got your do not throw away. These are the bits and bats, aren't they, that we find in our sheds and garages. Masculine or not, I've got plenty of these in my shed and garage as well. So you've got your broomstick, you've got a bit of a banister here, bits of wood, old paintbrush sitting down there. You've got the golf clubs, the tennis rackets, the cricket bat, all those pieces, because we do find them, don't we, loose. And then I love the little paint pots, because most of us, when we use a paint pot and we've used it halfway, we still keep them, don't we? Because we one day, never throw these things away. Or as my granddad used to say, get rid of it, tomorrow never comes. But you've got all the elements. Now we've got split dies as well here. Remember, over the edge cards give us a completely different view on the cards that we're making. So do utilize them. We have given you tutorials recently on how to use your split dies. They're really important. They're really valuable. If I'm just using a normal card shape, that's one thing. If I can then change up how that card shape works by using an over the edge die, I've suddenly changed my card base just by using the split die. Please do go find those tutorials. They're on YouTube. While you're on there, hit subscribe and notifications, and it'll tell you where all of those bits and bats are. From there, we've got your gorgeous centre. I love these. Love, love, love these. So you've got this piece here, which is obviously your placard, which has the to my with love. So to my partner with love, to my husband with love, to my dad with love, my son with love, or to my brother with love. All of those utilised. And then we've got this gorgeous fire green colour. It's such an impressive colour. And they all fit perfectly just on here. So you can create these incredible sentiments. You also get your matte layer as well. Lift it up, raise it up, get your shadow playing going. Or you can use your stamps on there if you've got alternatives as well. So you've got lots of options, haven't you? Loads of ways to play with this. And that's what we want. It's how we create what we want. But again, remember, this is on a split die. So you can have that, if it's an easel or one of those cards, a fold over card, you've got the elements to have that at the bottom. So you could use the bottom half of these, a folded top, and it will come down really pretty. I love this. From there, you've got this board of dreams. So you've got the large screen television, which sits at the back. Now, there's two vignettes for this. It's either on or off. So you've got two options. You've got your beautiful shelf, the big detail, that can go under the television or it can be seated somewhere else. We've even got a sky box and a remote control for the sky. So if we're creating a man cave, for instance, it's perfect. If we're creating a pub scene, it's perfect. We've got the bar stool as well. You've also got the little drinks lined up. So you've got your whiskies, your cocktails, you've got your beers, your wines. So again, we're going through the whole idea of what they might drink. But I love the fact that you've got a little sky box and a little sky remote. That's so cute, isn't it? Really sweet to build that scene. We're telling those stories again, and that is so important. Once again, Carnation have given us split dies for all of these elements as well. So if you want to do the television, that is the opening part of the card. So when you open it, you've got elements behind it, all the ways to play. Then you've got your car and you've got the jack for the car to sit on it. We will work with this today as well, so you will see it. Look at the detail. It's that detail that gives us so much scope when we're playing with these, isn't it? You've got the beautiful colourway here with those greens that match in with those sentiments that we were talking about, paired down with the blue of the jack. Now, what happens then is we've got our very busy guy who is working on various different elements. Now, he's held here so he can work with the spanner. So if he's using the sink and he's doing the plumbing, then maybe he would be doing that. There is a DT sample, I think, from the lovely Janine, where he's holding a beer. So it would seem like maybe he's had enough to drink, but he has managed to save his beer. You've also got your cup of tea and your half-eaten biscuit, so he could be very busy. There's a manual here which can be laying next to him in case he's doing some plumbing or some work on that car underneath the car. I don't know many people who read the instructions, but I'm sure some do. You've then got the saw and you've got your tape measure here as well as your spanner, all the different elements coming through. So you can start to see how those scenes are built. different storytelling ideas in all of those elements for those boards. Taz, can I pass you these? Is that okay? I'm just going to pass these over to Taz. So you'll see how it sort of structures and it comes together in a way that we can, thank you, in the way that we can do all of the different variants. So we've got, maybe you'll make a pub. Maybe you'll make a garden shed and it will be full of all the bits from the Do Not Throw Away collection. Simple card making, but really effective. Or maybe we will have the guy working and plumbing, and maybe he's in the shed or he's in the car, and maybe you're using those shed doors or the glass doors to represent a garage. Lots of elements, aren't there, that we can bring in. Remember then, we can utilize these with other collections as well, so you can really bring things in. Now, if you're doing the pub scene, remember we've got the sports figures that you can use, and they can be leaning there. There's loads of playways, loads and loads of playways. This is the Work and Play collection. It's on the Carnation Crafts website, www.carnationcrafts.co.uk, and the number for it today is 200702. It has a price of $89.99, and that's reduced then down from $118.93. You can get 10% discount off it by using your code in your newsletter. Just a quick note for those of you who have not signed up for the newsletter and you've got no idea what I'm talking about. If you go on to, most people don't, but if you go onto the Carnation Crafts website, www.carnationcrafts.co.uk, there is an option to sign up for the Carnation Crafts newsletter. They don't just send you a ton of stuff all the time. And so it's worth having, because what they do send you is a newsletter that gives you a discount code for the month. And that gets you 10% off anything that is over 3 months old on the website. So you can really get your discounts going, and that's really important. So do utilize that, do take advantage of it. Work and Play. Sandra Welford here. Okay. Now what you can get with this is loads of backing papers. So you can get those wooden elements for a shed, you can get brick walls, you'll see all the different ones coming through, and they all obviously work perfectly with the perfect papers as well. But look at what we're building here. These are not your average cards, are they? This is something else. And I love that. I love the mess at the bottom where you've got the sink and the taps where it's sort of been put down ready for use. You've got the man cave elements, haven't you? The shelf with all the old cups on that haven't been washed. We all know these elements, don't we? Just perfect. So that's Sandra Welford's card. So that's coming in with that one first. If you want to have the guy doing the plumbing work, you've got To My Brother with Love. Now this can be used for somebody who is an actual plumber, or for somebody who just likes tinkering around with the different elements in the house. Oftentimes, like if it's me, where they tend to break it before they fix it, but you know, making every good effort. So you can see how we get lots of elements coming together. But if you look at those sentiments, To My Brother with Love. I like how they're interchangeable. I think that's really important. It's incredibly difficult to find dies where we get to interchange, isn't it? Because often with dies and stamps, you get very set pieces, and we still get that big line die, which is the To My and with Love and the frame. And then we just interchange the words, which is really nice. And like I say, you can use it as a stamp as well. Now, if you don't want to use the shed pieces and you want to change it up, you can always use the garage doors, sorry, the patio doors as such, the window ones, to make the pub. Clever, right? Telly cut in half, so you can have all of that sort of coming halfway through. Are you okay, Miss Taz?
I was just going to say, that's what I'm having. I don't know what you're having.
What, a tipple of what? A beer, a vodka and a whiskey.
Sure.
So you've got that, you've got the skybox sitting on top because everything's happening. It's just the sort of lovely workup of it. Now, like I say, we've got these perfect papers for you. So you've got the stripe there where it would represent a carpet, and then you've got the brick wall behind it. So you can bring all of those together as well. That's shut, so it's interactive. Again, always important with cards when you've got that interactivity, because it don't half make it exciting. We remember this from being kids, don't we? We've got your easel card here from the lovely Fiona. Really nice use of the registration plate there to say hubby. To My Husband with Love. You've got your all of your sort of elements here where you've got your sweeping brush, the bits and bats that have been dumped at the side. It's evocative, right? You've got the biscuit sitting on the floor with the little sort of manual next to it. You've got the cup of tea down here. It's clever. It's a clever use of how things work. You've got the, I'm getting my left and my right muddled all over the place here. You've got your shelf, and then you've got your saw hanging down, your spanner hanging down, and all of those elements on there. The tape measure sitting, which I think is super cute. Another mug sitting on there. Any of you at home have had experience? Certainly something I'm going through at the minute is my teenage boys seem to love leaving stuff in their bedroom. Lord only knows when they take it up, because they're actually not allowed, but still we find cups and we find plates. And it's just something that they seem to be oblivious to once it's in there. To my brother with love. Nice, right? Pared back and simple. Really, really lovely. To my brother with love. Representative of so many things, with all of the interest down at the bottom. There's badminton, there's cricket, there's all sorts going on there, isn't there? Remember, you've got snippability with all of Carnation's dies, which means we can change them up to suit our purpose. Look at this. Pam Simpson here. How glorious is that? All of that work coming in behind. So you're getting that difference. You can see the depth as I'm pulling that. And what we've got, obviously, is that piece at the bottom. If I just burnish that out a little, that allows it to seat in that triangular formation. Clever, clever workings here. Beautifully done, right? And I love the car sitting at the front. So it's, again, changing how we see it, isn't it? So instead of just going, well, I want to do 2 doors and I want it to be a pub, or I want to do the 2 doors and I want it to be a shed, now we've got a whole scene. There's a whole plethora of things going. So the recipient is looking and finding new things all the time when they're looking through that window. They're seeing the skybox, they're seeing the remote control, they're seeing all of those elements. So we're talking about clever working. Now, if you really want to pare it back and you want to make something that could be for males or for females, we've got this from the gorgeous Fiona Abbott here. Cheers. Because it's not a one-trick pony. Always, always look for dies that are not one-trick ponies. It's really, really wonderful for us to have those elements, the different ways we can play. Talking about different ways that we can play. Look at that. That's incredible. So that's using pieces of acetate. You can see them all attached there. So you don't see the acetate from the front particularly. What you see are all the elements just absolutely blooming from that box card. That folds up for postage. Obviously, you've got your mats and layers there. And then all of the elements with the acetate coming up. So you've got all of the pieces attached to it just with glue or with red liner tape. So we can make something incredible. These box cards are really easy to make. There are instructions online for various different pieces, and maybe one day we'll explore that as well, but they're not difficult to make and we can make extraordinary things from them. Carnation have given us loads of elements that are, we saw one this morning actually, where it is a strip with score lines in it that you can fold round. If you use the one that you saw this morning and you fold the edges across and pop it in there, it will give you a layer to put more things on as well. If you see what I mean, you just put it in and glue the sides to this on the inside, stick things to it. You've got an extra layer to really bulk out that card. So they're really, really clever pieces. To my brother with love. Now, at some point in its life, this has had some tiny lights on it, but it was about 2-3 years ago, so they're not quite where they are. But the whole point is when we start to use those apertures, we can light them up. Look at the shadow play coming through and how we're effectively using space by using the shelf. So you're taking away some of the white space, but you're not oversaturating it. I'm just finding the different elements here. We've got so many samples. Over the edge dies, split dies. That's what I mean. Split dies are so important. Because isn't that a lovely card, just seated? Yeah? You've got so many options. It's such an extraordinary collection. I know lots of you have got it already, and I know lots of you have said in recent days how much you love this collection. It's always been super popular because, again, we struggle, don't we? We struggle to find those pieces. If I open the shed doors here, to my dad with love, sitting as an easel. So again, we've changed it up. Perfect, right? Are you okay, Miss Taz?
I was just going to tail on from what you said. I was reading a load of comments, including one that my dad made the other day. Work and Play is the first collection that a lot of people bought from Carnation.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the reason for that is we are, for want of a better way of phrasing it, we are thirsty in the craft industry for male cards, for masculine elements. There's not a lot out there. So this, somebody's had a little bit too much, me thinketh. Just a tad.
They took drinking under the table to a new level.
Well, it's potentially their birthday, so they can be forgiven. But it's the way, obviously, we get to utilise the different dies. Now, this one is bringing in some elements of foliage from previous Carnation collections. This is Lavinia. Now, he's on the bonnet of his car having had a little bit too much. That's probably a little extreme. But he's having a very lovely time. It does seem with a little empty bottle at the bottom. Dad may have a problem. I'm just saying.
I mean, he's drinking with someone.
He is, because there's wine there as well. But aren't they lovely, those tongue-in-cheek moments? I love the fact that we get to play with Carnation, and by that I mean be playful, because it's important. Not all card making needs to be a serious kind of business, does it? We've got To My Husband with Love with those little doors. Remember, you've got your over the edge, so we can use that to open this. The Shed of Doom. We've all got a Shed of Doom. I've got a Shed of Doom. Look at this. Okay, card making to the extreme. And there's your little cupboards on the inside.
Who did that one?
It doesn't actually have a name on, so I can't credit it, I'm afraid. But isn't it gorgeous? Got a little bit of a bend there, I'm afraid. But isn't that wonderful? The little boxes at the side, you can see that here. Those little boxes coming through. Easy to make. And they allow a different kind of card making, don't they? I think that's extraordinary as far as card making is concerned. Where will your adventures take you? It's always the question, isn't it? Because it's never about this is what this does, this is the card that this makes. And I've been in the industry long enough to know that there are a lot of dies out there and that's the card it makes. Doesn't mean they're bad, it just means that's the card it makes. And that's fine, but if you've made that card 50 times, there's going to come a point where you don't want to make that card anymore. With Carnation, we're just going to play and we're going to mix and merge. Then you're going to bring them in with the other additional collections that you've previously bought, those additions, as I like to call them, because they all create in different ways. And that becomes a real playground. You're basically, once you've got all the dies, to me, the best analogy I can give you is it's like being locked in a supermarket. You then just get to do what you want with all of these elements you can bring in from all places and do all of the things. So a nice place to be. Something that's slightly more feminine sitting here. Hey up, I've just lost some bits. Is this one. Look at the spanners for the door handle. Isn't that cute? Let me just see if I can get this open. Just here and here. And we've got a she shed. Little she shed. Cute, right? So it doesn't have to be masculine. There are alternative ways every single time. So we're going to get to demo so you can see some of this coming together. But just to remind you, the Work and Play collection is on the Carnation Crafts website, www.carnationcrafts.co.uk, 200702. The Work and Play collection, price $89.99 today. That's reduced down from $118.93, free UK P&P, of course, because it's over the £50 threshold. And you can add in your perfect papers as well, which are your Work and Play perfect papers. These are all block colours, 48 sheets, 300 GSM, you get 6 colours and you're going to get 8 of each. So plenty for you to choose from. Again, all masculine colours. but all working in line with all of the vignettes that we've got, the artwork that you've got. Show price today of $14.99, $2.95 UK P&P 200710. And again, you'll get your 10% discount, right? Do you on the papers or not? Maybe not. Have a look, but use your newsletter code. It's going to just whack a little bit off the top. Right, let's make some stuff. Yes, Taz?
So both Suzanne and Linda are agreeing with you, but Linda's turned around and said, my son's still messy at 22. And then Suzanne's
Tell
gone,
me that.
and then Suzanne's gone, my eldest is 27 and still as messy.
Oh, no.
My sister's 27 and she's exactly the same, so I don't think it gets easier.
It's a weird thing, isn't it? I tell you, while I'm just putting this together, one of my sons has got this weird habit that he's got into and he cannot seem to break it. That if he happens to have, say, a packet of crisps in the living room, he's got a bizarre habit of tucking the empty packet down the side of the sofa. And I find little molehills when I go in to clean. I'm not sure why he does it, but he can't seem to kick the habit. Right, let's put this together and start piecing this through. Now, I've used one of those backing papers to create the wall at the back of this, so that brick wall, so there's no doubting that we are in some kind of room at this point. It just gives it that kind of visual going through that is exactly what it is. So I'm going to use a little bit of wet glue to put this down. Now, you can use perfect papers. If you're going to use, not perfect papers, where am I going with that? You can use your red liner tape. If you're going to use red liner tape, my advice, whether it is meaningful or not, is to use a thicker GSM on your Pro print when you're printing out your backing papers, because red liner tape has got an uncanny habit of tearing paper, and the thinner your paper is, then obviously you're going to fight with that a little bit more. If that frightens you a little bit too much, you can use a tape pen, obviously, or you can just use tiny amounts of your adhesive. If I'm using tiny amounts, because I need to make sure it sticks, I'm just going to then dot on my edges. I'm not worried about the middle. I don't want it warping at any stage in the middle. So I'm going to put my edges down and rely on those for the hold. It's just smooshing that out, making sure there's a good spread of it, and that will keep it adhered nicely to the bottom of my card. Hopefully that is about central. Now, once I've committed that down, because I've only got tiny amounts, you can't see where the adhesive went down, and that's a really nice thing. But again, you might be better with a tape or on a pen if you find it easier. I have taken some of the wood from the shed doors to create, excuse me, a top and bottom to this card, okay? So it gives me a ground device. So instantly you can see the difference where suddenly it's topped and bottomed by something and I visually go into the card. So I'm using that to my advantage at this stage. And I've then got, I'm not gluing these down at the minute because I'm going to go through it with you. I've then got my border out that's going to seat. Now, the reason I'm not gluing it down right now is because I need to know where all of my elements are going to fit. So if I wait and I play and I wiggle and a jiggle, I can work out where everything wants to be. Now, the reason that I am relatively cautious on that sense, excuse me, is because I've got the doors to fit. Now, when I put the doors in, they're not as tall as my card base, okay? So what I want to do is bring them together. I'm going to put the frame over the top. Let me get rid of these. So you see how we wiggle and a jiggle to make sure that we are correct in alignment. So find your central point, pop them down. Now, I don't want to, and I've got to be canny here because you want the doors to open, right? That's going to be a part of the decoration that we create. So I've got a hinge line down here, which is actually a score mat, which allows me to turn them. As soon as I've glued this edge down, the doors are going to open just fine. So where I'm putting this on top, I need to make sure it doesn't interfere with the mechanism of my door. So the first thing I'm going to put down are my doors, my hinges, if you like, and I'm going to get those central. So I hope that helps when I'm talking about putting it together. It makes sense to me anyway. So working along this edge, just to that point. And I'm going to very gently lay it in case I need to change. So I'm not committing right now. I'm just laying it down, but that will hold it enough so that I can sort out the adhesion on the opposing side. Just bring that in. And place that on. So now I can work out, okay, I'm about equidistant. My doors are closed. And they meet. I want them to meet in the middle. That's my biggest thing before I commit anything down. Are they meeting? Just so that visually it's correct. I'm okay with that. That's good. So now we'll commit that adhesion down. And now I can open these up. Up, she says. Just make sure it's actually stuck before you do what I do. That should be right. So now let's hold it and just make sure. Pull it back on here. So can you see this score line that goes down? Can you see that on screen, Taz?
Yep.
Where that is, where that hinges, I can pull that back and that'll make the mechanism of the card work. If your adhesion is not sticking, mine's having a moment, then you can go back in. And that means I can now start to think about the decoration on the inside of the card because I've committed to where I want it to be. I know it's in place and I now don't have to worry any way, shape or form about not being able to place that once I've got my decorations on top. So now I've got this really gorgeous scene starting to build up. And the reason I have a grounding device is you wouldn't have just two doors floating, right, with a top piece and this piece here. If you did, the doors wouldn't make sense. So we make sense of them and we give it a ceiling. And then we give it a base, all right? And that grounding device, the top grounding device and the bottom grounding device just makes sense of that piece there. And that's all we're doing. We're just making sense. Now I'm going to just commit those down. The reason I'm not cutting it first is I can cut it exactly to size. If I make sure that my adhesion points up, go into the center of here, then lay it just near enough the top there. Just about there is fine. I've got my little edges here and I can come in and I can snip those once I've made sure they're correct. Just gives me a bit of freedom to move. Smoosh that down. All the way across. You can add more glue in at the end, so if it hasn't gone to the edges, obviously we can add in extra. But for the main part, I've got my floor based in. So in it goes, on, done. Now I'm going to get my pair of snips. So I just want some little ones for these. Always when you're going in with small areas, use small scissors. Makes it easier for you. You don't need to be quite so dexterous. I can look at where my backing paper starts and I can kind of match it up, okay? Obviously take the time to make sure it's straight. So we're just snipping in. And now I can start thinking about, if I need to, add in a bit more adhesive at the edges just to keep it pinned down. I'm okay with that for now. So now I've got a starting point and a finishing point for that. Now I can start thinking about putting the frame down and just finishing it off so that everything comes together. So we've created that border and that frame. Does that make sense to everybody? I hope so. Sometimes you work backwards to work forward. Make sure I've got that on the right side. And it just helps. Well, at least it does in my brain. Most things work backwards and then forwards. Little pieces of the adhesion going through, using those gorgeous blues and golds that come through on the artwork and are just so pretty to use. Little applicator there to just make my life so much easier. Place this down, just at those edges, just covering my working, and again covering my working. Doesn't that look great? We've created that base, we've created a foundation, now we get to decorate. And I love the fact that I have a frame, a border, everything coming together. Nothing looks out of place and nothing's floating. So I can open up my doors and I can start the decoration process. Lovely blank canvas to work with, but the brick wall gives me a notion of where I'm going. Now I've got my little table, my bar, if you like, and that's going to sit right in that central panel. I can raise just enough on those doors to just poke it through. Remember, when you use less glue, you have more options. I know it goes against the grain to use small amounts. I've had this conversation many times with lots of people, but it does give you more options, and it does keep your paper straight without those water wobbles. So I can poke and just find a little give point here. There we go. Make sure that's got onto its grounding device. Remember, grounding devices are so important. Just to give you that visual. Let me just shuffle that just so we're equidistant there. There we go. And there's my table seated. I'm just going to make sure my mechanism for my door still closes. Everything all good on both sides. And there I'm starting to produce a scene, right? So we want to make this into a bit of a pub, don't we? Just a little bit. Man shed, maybe. Little man cave. Does your dad have a man cave, Taz?
No. And Mum won't let him.
What more? Does your mum have a she shed? Let's pop the television. It became really popular during COVID, didn't they? These spaces that we could have. Now I need to make sure I don't seat this above the door, so I'm just eyeballing it to make sure it's just below. That's the sports playing in my little man cave. Now I've kept some distance between the table and the television. I'm going to just change up the table a little bit because it's not a garage workbench, it's in a pub, or in that sense of a bar. So we're just going to utilise the different tabletop to make it just that little bit prettier, detailed, I guess is a good word. And then finally we need to start bringing in some elements of the pub. I'm going to seat the stool just slightly off. That's going to sit on my wooden panel at the bottom to bring perspective forward. Align that down. I don't want it to be symmetrical, so I don't want it to be straight in the middle. You could, but just off kilter is good for me. I'm going to bring in my bar pump. Place that in. And then we're going to bring in a couple of drinks because somebody is about to be having a lovely time. Just place that there. Nice big pint with a Yorkshire head. We like that. A little glass of wine at this side. A good night ready to be had by all. And obviously that then just closes. So you've got the whole element there. It'll obviously stand on its own because we've created that card base. So when the recipient has it, they can leave the doors open like they are. They can have them closed when it's going for postage, or if they choose to, they can pull them right the way back and extend the card base altogether. Entirely what you want it to be. But how cute is that? Easy designs, right? The reason it's so effective, of course, is that brick wall at the background gives us that line view that tells us there is something going on. There's an actual piece at the back, which is obviously the brick wall. So we're in a room, aren't we? We've created that room just by using that little wooden piece at the bottom and the top. Gives you your framing out, and then you can use the bold frame around, and it all gets completed. So really, really cute little card, and it's really easy done. Nice masculine cards, right? We need them. We need those masculine elements. That's why work and play is so important. You can find it on the Carnation Crafts website, www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. The number for it is 200702. You've got a show price today of $89.99, a bundle price of £118.93, free UK P&P, and you can also use the QR code at the bottom of the screen to take you straight there. So please feel free if you want to. It's just one of those mad collections that we all need. Everybody needs work and play. If you're a card maker, we always need to know we can make all cards regardless of the situation or the recipient. Work and play gives us that freedom. Okay, really, really cute. Now we're going to have a look at some more finished samples. I love this next one. You'll like this. You'll appreciate this, Taz. Is it wine o'clock?
I mean, there needs to be an exclamation mark. It is 1 o'clock.
What's the saying? It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah.
That's so cute, isn't it? This little clock that says, is it wine o'clock, with those gorgeous little elements. It's a really effective card, that. I think it's very cleverly done. So let's have a look at some more that we've got. So we're opening this. This is Laura Williams here. To my dad with love. Let me just open this up. Ooh, she says. And just grab it. Oh, it's stuck, Miss Taz. I think there's just one door that opens. There you go. To my dad with love. Somebody's working outside and in on this one. But obviously when you close the door, you get the effect. Well, again, we all do it, don't we? Where we've got things stuck in the door. To my dad with love. It's funny, you know, because I have struggled in the past to get my dad cards that are appropriate, because he's not a man that's big into florals. So to be able to provide something for him where it's more regarding his interests. My dad loves sport. He loves television. So to be able to provide with that. You've got your gorgeous little elements at the side there, which is your do not throw away. So the sweeping brush, you've got the paint cans, you've got the sky box, and you've got the sky remote control, the spanner there, all your elements coming through. And again, those wooden backgrounds there. Sandra Welford doing an awesome job. And I just say a big heads up to Miss Taz as well, who is working currently with a nosebleed. She's doing very, very well. So there we have got to my dad with love with that car up on the jack. You've got the biscuit, you've got the remote control, maybe a little hidden glass of whiskey next to him, but it could be water. The manual for the car as well. So he's working to his best advantage with all of the bits and pieces. I'll save a couple of these as we go into the next demo. Husband. That's so cool, right? What a great card set to have. Now, the next card that I'm going to do, I'm actually not going to do the shed doors. I'll do that as the last demo. So we're going to play with this one here, and we're going to do one on an 8x8. I know lots of you like to work on 8x8, but this one is going to be a much quicker demo, and then we will jump into the last one because obviously we're getting close to time. Are you okay, Taz? She's a little trooper sitting in the background there, bless her. A little trooper Taz with a tissue around her nose. She's very good. Right, let's do this. 8x8. A card shape that certainly in the UK we love to use. I assume also in America and stuff, but I know with America, when I've spoken to friends over there, they've said it's difficult with 8x8 because the postage is higher, so I do understand. Then I've now got some mats and a layer. Now what I want to do is just put some colour down so that I've got a visual, but then I'm going to use the brick wall on top of it. I still want the idea of it being in a room, but I do just want to bring some framing in with this obvious colour with the blue. And I'm just going to use some finger lift tape from this. Obviously, I would normally have red liner tape, but I'll be totally straight with you all, I ran out. So we've got finger lift. I want the darker blue to be at the top and the gradient of the lighter going down to the bottom. Find my midsection. I haven't got any adhesive, remember, in the middle. If I take the full panel off, I can utilise a central point by laying down the centre, working out my end points, making sure I'm central. Now I can't look over, so I'm working at a disadvantage, but when you're at home, just lay your midpoint down first. Same it goes, obviously, here. For my brick wall, you can use the tab method, obviously, still. Let me peel this away. And same on the other side. I love this brick wall. Very muted. Making sure I'm roughly equidistant. Way up, my nail varnish came off on that. We'll cover it up. Now, what I've done is taken the wooden piece, the wooden backing paper, and I've cut it so that they are on the vertical. I've added a piece of white paper at the top, and this is going to give me my floor line, okay? So it's going to give me the idea that I've got my floor and then my skirting board. So perspective-wise, we've got the floor working up and then that going forward. That's going to give me, again, a grounding device. It's going to give me a way to form perspective. So pulling this in, like so. Poor Taz. She's not crying, she's just... So she's like her own mini horror film over here. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's good. Right, let's bring in, I've got here this. Now, if I line this up to my perspective point, it's at the back of the room and it's leaning against the wall because I've got the skirting board. So again, we start to bring in that detail in which gives it reasoning. It makes it reasonable and it makes it sort of not jar in that sense. So I'm just going to utilise this red point here to know that that's where my adhesive stops, because the rest of it obviously will just go over the edge of the card. So I know roughly on height now where I can place my adhesive without it actually being there for no good reason. Placing that in so it just sweeps over the edge of the card like so. Now I've got my car here and my car needs to be on jacks. So if I bring the car in and I find a little grounding point, maybe over here, I've got the line of the wooden floor to be able to visually work out where this is going to sit. So if I can say, right, okay, it's going to be here. We'll cover up that nail varnish scratch. There. No butterflies here, I'm afraid. And then we can work out where the tyres would be. So the way, if you want to work it and you want to make it easier, glue one, put the car up and then glue this second one, okay? That'll just make it visually easier for you. I'm going to cover up that mark, so I'm actually going to use this as a way of doing that. Goodness me. So I think, I'll put it one higher and that way I know I'm covering that completely. And just grab hold of the second one so it's not in my way, and then I've got the car. I love this car so much. It's almost classic American, isn't it? It's really beautiful. Now I'm sure it's probably got a name and I don't know is the answer. Best I can tell you is a Fiat 500 and I know it's not that. So once I've got that, I'm going to commit this down on one side. I'm not going to push or commit on this side because I need to get the jack underneath it, ironically. And I need to know it's straight. So I need to find the line on my wooden floor that is underneath the tyre. Oh, the mouth went there. And place that down. Now, in order to give it a little bit more of an umph in perspective, I have cut it twice, and I've just cut away the window on the second one. I've put 5mm foam tape on the inside so that I can really raise this up. I'm going to decoupage it, hopefully correctly, but I can't lean over. So now I've got perspective coming forward, I've got that dynamic shape, I've got dimension, and it just adds a bit more to it. From here, I've got my little chap, and I need a spanner because he's working on the underside of that car. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just ensure that I've got a little bit of adhesion just on his hand at the back. I'm going to attach the spanner first, because then it's going to make it easier for me to place him where I need him to be. Just put in some small amounts of adhesive there and some on the spanner too. Now I've got that piece, you know, I put the extra piece on top. My spanner can sort of disappear between the two of them now. And he will sit just in front, his little feet. Let's make some wee adjustments. So the little manual, wiggle and a jiggle. Small amount of adhesive there. That's sitting at the bottom of his feet. He's also got a biscuit. I did have a cup, but I think it might have got flicked, so I do apologise. He can have a biscuit. He can have a biscuit. So we're just going to put the biscuit down by his feet. And then I've got this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful sentiment. Now this is going to go over the edge of my card. So I'm just putting some adhesive through. I want the whole of the to my over the edge. Then I've got the sentiment. So the to my dad. Using those applicators to know that I can get into those smaller spaces. To my dad. With love. And then I'm just going to add in a little saw. I'll just put that one there. And then I've got a couple of extra spanners. So one on the floor, just down here. Because there would always need to be more than one, wouldn't there? Near his biscuit. And I'll put one over near the manual. So he's got all of his tools all around him. One sitting just underneath his manual. There you go. Perspective, you've got dimension with the extra element on the card. So if you're looking at it from this side, you can see how that sits forward. And then that all comes together to create a really lovely card shape. To my dad, with love. Work and play 200702 on the Carnation Crafts website. It's $89.99 today, bundle price for $118.93, so you are saving quite a fair whack of money there. Free UK P&P, QR code at the bottom if you need to use it, or you can use the number itself, and that's on the Carnation Crafts website, which is carnationcrafts.co.uk. Now, I think I've got time for a really quick demo, have I, Taz? She's not looking entirely set. I'm just going to do it. I'm brave. I'm just going to do it. Right. I'm not very brave. Just so you know, I'll just run fast at the end of the show.
You've got to go past me.
That's true. I do have to get past her. I'll occupy her with something. I'll tell her she's got another nosebleed. It'll be fine. Right. I'll be fast.
No, you take your time.
Thanks, Babs. Right. Let's do this. We're using that main card shape again. Shuffle, place in, bring in that wooden frame at the back, okay? So we're starting to build the idea of the shed now. And I did want you to see both the shed and those glass doors, just so you can see both of them working together. They do work in roughly the same way, but I do think it's important for you to see both if you can. And I want to lay this down, so just in thither and thither. Okay, right, so what I've done here, I did start to do this because I knew we might not have time for all 3 demos, so I made a start. What I've done, the shed doors have got an extra piece of wood going off either side here, and you can utilise those and use both of them to give you the longer look. I've cut them off very specifically because I wanted to make an edge at the top of my doors because they don't naturally come with it. So if I turn that round, can you see where I've glued them together? So I've just used the extra bit of wood from the side. I laid it across so that the top met there. I glued it on, and that has given me a pointed roof. Once I'd done one, I laid them back next to each other and I placed them together so I could snip them at the same point so that they were angled. You can turn them back to back and cut them so that they're exactly the same. Okay, that's going to give you the same angle. It's also going to give you the same cutting point in the middle there, so you're taking care of business. So once I've done that, I still want to do more to it, but I waited until I was with you so that we could finish that together. So now that I've got the little points there, and you can again see how that's just been attached, it's not part of the main thing. It's just to give you some extra ideas. Once I've got my doors closed together, to create the little point, I've then got some extra elements here. Now I've already cut them, so I'm going to make sure I've got the right edge to the right edge. There you go. And I'm just going to put those on so I've got a fancier roof. So that's just the extra part for the countertop, but I can use it to change and add a bit of decoration to the roof. So I'm going to use this line going across to be able to stabilize myself, put that to the edge so that I create that fancier rooftop on my shed. Make sure I do that right way first. And they're just cut to size, obviously. It might be easier for you to glue these on and then cut to size. Obviously, I wanted to do it this way so I could show you in demo, just as it was cut. And they're going to seat. Okay, so we've created something a bit fancier, all right? And it can then be used in so many different ways for different collections. Lots of playways here. So now that I've done that, the one thing that I have to now make sure, more so than I did with the other one, I could glue this down and still have the hinges for my door, but I've got a problem now. I've effectively stopped the hinge working, haven't I, here, because I've glued things on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is burnish at this point, or, you know, fold back and then burnish. So I'm going to fold that back, make sure it's pressed down and pull that hinge down. That way that crease where those two pieces are on top of it are formed before I try and fight with it once it's glued down. So same thing at this side, just pulling it down, push, so that my hinge is created. Now I can go in with my adhesive, pull that through and down, just so I've got it the whole way across. And then I can seat that there with that still raised in the same way we do with our card bases, and get some on the other side so that can match them up equally in the middle of the card before I commit them down. So now I can naturally bring the doors together. I've got a little central point at the bottom of my card. The pattern changes. I can use that. If I want my doors to be absolutely central, I want them central to that little bump at the bottom here, and I can create that way. Place those, make sure they meet. Once they're in place, glue and commit. Okay, so now my doors are where they need to be, and I've got that lovely shed door. And now we're just decorating the inside. Really sweet now. Now's the fun bit. We get to put in these elements. Now, I can put this way, but because I've got mirrored vignettes, I can change it and put them that way. Okay, I can do either. Or I can put them on the door, on the inside of the door. as if the shed's open and we've lent a load of stuff against it. And that's what I'm going to do, but I just wanted to show you the variant options that we've got. So a little bit of adhesive here, add some extras up to that top line, corner in, ground it out, and then place. Nice little commitment on your vignette there. That's a little visual element coming through. Now I've got my countertop here, and that's going to seat at the bottom. I should be able to just poke and tuck, and hopefully do the same at the other side. Poke and tuck, and get enough of it. There. Once that's in, that one might not be so pokey and so tucky as this one. If it's a little bit too long, feel free to snip. Part of Carnation's joy is the snippability, isn't it? I've got it to the bottom, so I've got my grounding device. If that's a little bit too much and it's not poking, just take the edge point so that it seats pretty flush, okay? So just work with what you've got. Little bit of adhesive on the feet. Hey up. Bit there, raise up. Because once it's placed, you can manipulate from that point forward, but you do need to have it in position. So once it's there, now I get to do all of the things. So again, I can put these on the other side of the door. So I've got that framing coming through, okay? So I'm going to do that. You could put them in front of the table, by the way, so you can corner this out. Maybe we'll do that. So we'll have that on that side and we'll corner this out because it looks quite sweet. So long as I've got my table leg, it doesn't, on one side you can see what it is. Oof, we don't like them apples. All right, I'm going to put this here. Place down. So I've got where I need. Now let's get this, I'm going to call it a clamp. I know there's a name for it and I cannot remember what it is.
I did just look it up a second ago.
Just place that on because somebody's working with all of their elements. Just to be aware that I'm keeping white space at the top for my sentiment, so I've got a nice space for it. But let's fill in with some paint pots down here.
A vice.
A vice, that's it. Miami Vice, but without the white shirts and the greased back hair.
And the sunglasses.
Pardon? And the sunglasses, yeah. Let's make sure that doesn't go over the top of the door. So about there. To my husband with love. Just putting this through. Place that on. I love those sentiments so much. I love the colour of them. They're so vibrant. To my husband with love. Okay, and there's your shed all done. Again, simple card making, effective card making, and so useful to have those masculine elements that bring together the cards with great ease, but also they're so important because we do need to send those cards to those men in our life who we love very, very much and who, you know, absolutely deserve the best, don't they? So it's nice to be able to bring those to partners, dads, sons, uncles, all of those things. It's really important. So nice to have a collection that is designed for them and it's got all of the lovely elements. We still get to play, we still get to build our stories, but it all takes into account those masculine pieces. Work and Play is on the Carnation Crafts website, www.carnationcrafts.co.uk, 200702 89.99, free UK P&P, and don't forget to chuck in your perfect papers as well, because they'll just finish everything off to its absolute completeness. 200710, show price of £14.99. £2.95 UK P&P if you buy it separately. If you do obviously put it in with the die set, then that is also going to be a free postage. I hope you enjoyed today's shows. I hope you got something out of them, and I hope you're really, really well. The most exciting thing to note, next week is launch week. It's launch week. Have you all seen the stuff on social media coming up for it? Davy B and I and Miss Taz will all be with you on Tuesday morning, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Did I get that right?
Yes. But
There will be a there'll be a showtime change on Wednesday. So normally we would come to you, it'd be me and Taz, and we would come to you at 10 and 12. But in actual fact, we will be coming to you much later in the day on the Wednesday. So those times will be 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. So slightly later. So don't forget to, if you go onto YouTube, really important, go onto YouTube and hit the notification bell. You don't need to remember times that way. It tells you that we're live. It will give you a notification. Carnation are live, so you can just get reminded to come and or watch. I hope you're all really, really well. I hope you're taking care. I hope you have an amazing weekend, and we will see you on Tuesday.